Dear church, let's talk about being a ministry team. Hello and welcome to the Dear Church Podcast. I'm your host, Chris McCurley. Excited about our guests today. And I say guests because it's plural. We have Matt and Heather Jones with us. Thank you guys so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
We're very excited.
Yeah, I've been wanting to have you on. I've been noticing some of the content that you're putting out there on social media, especially the WinsDay Podcast, WINSDay Podcast, which caught my attention because I'm one of these guys. My prayer life is about winning the day. Just get through the day, win the day, and then we'll worry about the next one if we get another one. And so that intrigued me. As we jump in here, tell us a little bit about the podcast and kind of what sparked all that.
I'll let you take that one.
So, we did it because, first of all, we like to talk to each other as a husband and wife. And selfishly, I tell people that it's just an hour we get to talk about positive things that are going on in our life. And we did it because there is a lot of negatives that happen on a weekly basis. So just to spend some time being positive and sharing that positivity with people is why we did it, and hence the name WinsDay on Wednesdays. So that's a lot of why we did it. And we've talked about a lot of random topics just besides our wins of the week, but it's been pretty good. I mean, I enjoy that hour we get to just talk to each other.
Yeah, I do too. I enjoyed it. And talk a little bit about where we can find it. I know it's on Facebook. Where else can we find it? We stream to every major podcast platform out there. We also have a Facebook group. It is a private Facebook group that people can get on, and we talk about random things that we talk about on the podcast, and we also ask people to interact and tell us their wins for the week, so we can do our best to just be positive with each other. And that is, I think, everywhere you can find it. There's no video as of yet. We like to be able to put our earbuds in and just listen, and we are not that technologically advanced just yet. So, well, it's all good. I mean, I appreciate the content, and I know a lot of people do. So whether video or not, we appreciate that. Talk a little bit about family life right now, where you're at, what you're doing. I know you've got your kids with you in the background there somewhere, but talk a little bit about family and how the work's going, where you're at, and all that kind of stuff.
I'll let you talk. You get that one. Yeah.
Family life is great. So we homeschool. It allows us to have that freedom to travel around to other ministry events like Ministry League experience that we were at last weekend, and Ladies' Days and other events. It just gives us the freedom to be able to take them with us to family seminars and other things. So that's great. And I forgot the other part of that question.
Well, we currently are working with the Mercedes Drive Church of Christ in Vance, Alabama. And it's an awesome congregation. We love the people there, and they're some of our biggest encouragers to us doing the podcast and other things that we do. And so they've been a wonderful encouragement for us. And yeah, I mean, it's just a country town congregation, and we have loved it there so far.
Yeah. And two girls, right?
Two girls, Georgia, who is 7, and Josie, who is 3.
Great. And so they keep you busy as well, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Lots of things in our house.
I bet that's right. So, Matt, background, football player, fun fact, the MTV show 2-A-Days, which keeps popping up on my TikTok account. Some of our viewers and listeners probably remember the show 2-A-Days on MTV, Coach Rush Probst, famous, infamous, however you want to put it. And you were a part of that team. Featured a little bit on the show. I've seen you a time or two on there, at least in the background. And then went on to play in college and even coaching a little bit on the side now as you're doing ministry. I know from my background of playing and coaching and getting into ministry that, some people say it's jumping out of one frying pan into another. But it definitely prepares you. They're very similar. Talk a little bit about the similarities that you've noticed, the crossover with those two things.
I grew up in Hoover, Alabama, played. I was a sophomore and junior during that TV show time, and that was an interesting time. But I was able to gain some skills. I was a graduate assistant coming out of college for a year. So that helped me kind of see the coaching aspect of things. Last year, I was the assistant offensive line coach for the West Blockton Tigers, which is a 4A program in Alabama. And it was a joy. But as you said, it is another frying pan that I jumped into. So as you know, Alabama loves their football. And we're not far from where the Crimson Tide have made a great run for college football. So it is a big deal there. And it was awesome. Being in kids' lives nowadays is so beneficial for me as a minister to see what they're going through and be able to minister better to that age group. And I tell people a lot of times I became the team counselor, and I got to do a lot of that, talking to kids one-on-one and getting to know them and help them, but also be able to introduce spiritual things into their lives. We had a prayer breakfast that members of the congregation I serve and other churches of Christ in the area got to provide funds for. And so that was really neat to be able to be a part of. My girls got to come to stuff. Heather was very involved, and so I just threw them in the frying pan with me. And it was I really enjoyed it. I tried to find other preachers that had kind of done that before, because the time invested in that was a lot. And as a preacher as well, there's a lot of time invested there. So it was a long fall, and Heather's probably laughing for a good reason, but it was fun to be a part of.
Yeah, absolutely. I did that last year with my wife not being here until 6 months after I got here. Helped the baseball team, and 96 games in 6 weeks, and
wow,
yeah,
wow,
pretty busy.
Yeah,
and I retired after that year. So.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys are a team, and that's what I love about you two, is that you approach ministry as a team. And, a lot of elderships see it as that. When they hire a preacher, it's kind of a package deal. They get a husband and a wife a lot of times. And so talk about your approach to ministry as team. That's really kind of the theme and what I wanted to talk about most on this podcast episode. Talk about how you guys work so well together to make this effort worthwhile.
Well, we like to really bounce all of our ideas off of each other. And if he's doing something, then usually I'm right there with him. If it's like serving in some way, like with the football thing, when he had practice, me and the girls would go and watch practice. We cook team meals and stuff like that. When we do Teens in the Word at our house for our youth group, I make meals. We like to hang out with our teens together. We just like to do everything together so that it helps our members and our young people see what a thriving, godly marriage looks like. It helps them to just see how we work together. And he is he's the teacher side, and I'm the cook side.
Yeah. She's the fun side, too. She comes up with she'll get on Pinterest before our Teens in the Word nights and come up with all the fun games.
Yeah.
So, she gets to be the fun side. And I guess a little bit more about the WinsDay podcast. We always look for things to listen to that will help us see what a Christian marriage is like. When we first got married and everything, we were kind of on our own. We were out in the middle of nowhere. I was a rancher. She was a dental assistant and worked at a hospital and things. And we were 18 hours away from normal that we grew up around. And so we just learned to be with each other all the time. We travel with each other. We do things. We go hunting together. We go hiking together. We literally do everything. So we wanted to share that with people because I know there's people out there that don't know what a Christian marriage sounds like, how they communicate with each other, how they talk with each other. So we try to express that to people through just our example. Hopefully it comes off great. It's just, I wouldn't be able to do this without her. And I hope she feels the same way with me. But she's encouraged me. I'd never thought I'd be a preacher. So I tell everybody that was her fault. And so it's been awesome. I always try to encourage young men, if they ever want to go to preaching school or any sort of Bible institute, I say it'd be best to go with your wife one day, and y'all can learn together and grow together. And that way it's awesome. Yeah.
I can relate to a lot of the things you're saying. When my wife and I first started dating, she said, I just don't think that I don't know how I can be married to a coach. I don't know how that's going to go. And what's worse than being married to a coach, right? Being married to a preacher. And so I one-upped it. But no, I mean, there's so much benefit and there's so much joy that can be had in ministry. And you guys certainly exude that. It does come out in your podcast and in the things that y'all do and the things that you share on social media, which I know Heather's behind most of that. And it shows. I mean, she does a great job with the content and everything. Heather, you do some things as well by yourself, right?
Yes,
as far as ministry involved. Talk a little bit about that.
So I, for the past 4 years, have done a video series called Wisdom for Women. And it started when we were in domestic mission work in Huron, South Dakota. And it was just a way that I thought I could help reach women and help them to see that you can take your Bible study so much deeper. And then it just kind of evolved into everyday life lessons and little things like how to do family Bible time and things like that. So it's slowly getting converted into podcast format. There are some already up there, but not a ton, but slowly converting them into podcasts to make things a little easier. But that is one of them.
She also, and she's probably humble on this side of things, when she was doing that, I kind of was in the background and produced it all. And she was the main talent. And it was awesome to see how just that video series alone impacted our domestic mission work, because there would be women that never would have probably talked to in the town we were in that would reach out to her and say, wow, I really appreciate your videos. I'm learning so much. And I mean, even in our dental office, we would go in there and the two ladies behind the front desk were, we love your videos. And so it was really awesome to see that. She's also written a grief journal that Kyle Publications actually publishes. And you can tell people about that.
Oh, it's just a 6-week grief study that takes you through the New Testament of how to handle grief from a biblical perspective, while also deepening your study life and your prayer life. Yeah,
that's all great content. The more, the better. I think that's awesome. Talk a little bit. We probably should have started with this. Talk a little bit about how you guys met.
So we met in the beginning of hunting season of 2013, I believe.
Okay. Okay.
And he had a mutual friend. We have a mutual friend, and he said, hey, I have this guy that you need to meet. He plays football for Alabama.
Yeah. Wrong school, but that's okay.
I guess he just figured, well, his jersey looks the same. He meant to say in Alabama, not for Alabama. Yeah. And so I'm listening. Yeah. And he was like, really interested in you, and I think you should talk to him. So we started talking on Instagram, and then it went from there. And then he was living in Oklahoma, working on a ranch, and I was living in Florida still. And I was in school and also still working as a dental assistant. And then we just got married sometime after a long distance relationship.
Yeah. And we were neither of us grew up in the Lord's church. We both grew up in denominational homes. And that was a lot of our long distance relationship was, the family that I worked for was working on me. And then I was slowly working on her, and we started working on each other. And so, the day after we got engaged, which was February 7th, 2015, the next day I was baptized. And then, she was there for that weekend. So it was amazing. And then, 2 years later, she was baptized April 13th, 2017. And from then we wanted all the answers. And, we had a lot of encouragement from preacher friends of ours and family, spiritual family members of ours that said, look, just take 2 years off and go to school. And so that's why she said, hey, go to Bear Valley Bible Institute. Let's go there. Let's spend 2 years. We've only got one child right now. And so we did that. And our intention was just to go learn the Bible and come back to ranch and live our life in the middle of nowhere. But that has launched us into a whole lot more.
Yes.
So.
And you're doing well with it. I guess you're pleased with it, and this is what you want to do now going forward. So
we love full-time ministry. I miss the cows every now and then, but we have loved full-time ministry work and everything. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about your time in Huron. I know that that was domestic mission work. That tell us a little bit about that. What was that experience like, and how did that set you up for ministry now?
It was cold. Very cold. And for a Southern guy, that was the first culture shock, but everything else up north, the towns are awesome. The families are awesome. The people are awesome. And, we were with another couple, Nate and Katie Miller, and they were with us up there, and there was already a church building paid for. There was already a membership startup of 4 people. And we doubled the congregation when we all moved out there. And it was great. I mean, we got to be involved we were able to help other churches in the area. I mean, our nearest other congregation was about 50 miles. Getting to see how much they relied on each other for area-wide singings. I mean, people would drive 3 hours just for a Sunday night singing.
Lots of
commitment that we saw through those Christians there. It was also cool. We were able to network with churches of Christ around the country for our support, but also we would have some of those supporters bring up youth groups and college groups, and we invested a lot of effort in the town through service projects, we brought back tent meetings up there. We would set up a tent in the middle of town in a beautiful park and just have teaching and preaching. So it was cool in the sense where I was afforded the opportunity to try out a bunch of different ministry works and see how they affected groups and how they affected people, what worked, what didn't work. And it was cool to be able to be around a lot of non-Christian people and teach them and find out this is helpful, this is not helpful, different things like that. And so it's kind of a research and development time in our life. And it was great. By the time we left, we would see 30 on a Sunday morning, some Christians, a lot visitors. And, it was great. And they're still, Nate and Katie Miller are up there still, laboring away. And we're truly thankful that they're doing that. They're 2 twin boys, and they are
super cute.
Yeah, they're doing awesome.
That's awesome.
How did you?
Yeah.
It was great. I am a full-time photographer, so that really helped me really reach people because they were like, how did you get here?
Yeah.
You don't sound like you're from here.
Right.
So that helped me really kind of launch pad our story to people of why we're here and stuff like that. So that helped me get a foot in the door with talking to people a lot, and a few studies came from it as well. So
yeah, that's neat. Talk a little bit about how y'all balance your ministry with family time and all that? I mean, you said you're always together, so there's always a bleeding over. There's always a kind of crossing boundaries and things. How do you set aside time for family? How do you balance everything?
Well, how do we balance things?
You can start.
Really, we just all come along for the ride.
Yeah.
So, we just make sure we set aside time for family time in our day, that this is our day of the week, that we're going to do something together as a family. But every night we really try to do a family Bible time together. Just somehow we are spending time together. And then in the mix of the ministry, we bring the girls along with us.
Yeah.
I was given advice back from preachers that, give your family at least a third of the day. So I've tried to make that my mission and make sure that I'm present. I don't think it was the best of ideas to be a full-time preacher and a full-time coach, but I still made it work with having a day off. Sometimes it ended up being a half a day, but during that half a day, I've tried to really make sure that we do something together. Maybe that's go walk around the Cahaba River, or go go to the zoo, go do something to where we can create memories with each other. Also, Heather has encouraged me in those Bible times. We do family Bible time at night. Sometimes I'm worn out, but she makes sure to encourage me that, hey, let's do this. We really want our girls to see that growing up and be a part of that. And so, yeah, just involving them in our ministry, letting them be a part of it. I know they probably get tired of meeting people all the time, but they are very social kids. We go to parks a lot too, just to be at a park, and our girls, they are pumped when other people are there, because they're like, we're about to make some friends today. And so they almost make it a competition on who can make the friend first. So, it's been great. And we're trying to really covet our time from the world. So we try to do that as best we can.
Yeah, it probably helps that you have socializing type of children that don't mind that too much. That's a big blessing. They probably spur you on as well. Hey, you've answered this question probably already several different ways, but as we close out our discussion, talk a little bit about maybe some advice that you would give to couples that are starting out in ministry. What kind of advice would you give to them?
Make sure you both have the same goals, the same ministry goals in mind. Definitely go to school together, study together.
Make it a big habit of some of the best personal advice I've had is don't leave your wife behind. Because when we were in school, I would come home and be like, man, we're going through the book of Hebrews and it is amazing. And she would just look at me like, kind of wish I was doing that too. And then God provided a way where she could come to do all the day courses with me. And that has been one of the biggest blessings ever, is letting her get to be in those classes. We were both learning the same material, getting to really dig deep into God's word together. And that has benefited us so tremendously in ministry and in our personal lives, to where we have issues or something come up in our own life where we talk about it, we pray about it, we study about it. And it's not, I'm the preacher and she is just the, servant wife. She is very knowledgeable and is a great impact for women and young ladies because of her knowledge. And I'm thankful for that. And I try to encourage all the young men out there, or any couple, spend time, 2 years, take a break from life and go learn the Bible together. That will serve a marriage well. Whether you go into full-time pulpit ministry or youth ministry, or just go back home and serve a congregation. I try to encourage all the people I can to do that. And it has served us well.
We are proof that it can be done.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're the advertisement.
Oh yeah.
And we had just bought a house
Yeah.
and all sorts of things when we decided to pick up and go to Bear Valley. So it's definitely doable.
Oh, yeah.
You just have to have the want to do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Man, that's great stuff. I appreciate you guys being on today and taking time out of your schedule and taking time out of homeschooling and being with your kids. And thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to let our viewers and listeners know that if you have a question about today's episode, you can email me at chris.mccurley@rippleoflight.com. If you have a specific question for Matt and Heather, we can forward that along to them. I'm sure they'd be happy to answer that. And just thank you so much for tuning in. Guys, thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank everyone for tuning in. Until next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you. Sincerely, Chris.